Hello. Part K. Part K of my PS1 collection. One, two, four, 6 games. So this shouldn't take too long, hopefully. Um, don't think there's much more to say, so I'll crack straight on with it. Right. Bit of a weird, interesting selection, I suppose. I suppose you call it interesting selection. I mean, nothing that conventional. Everything's slightly out of the ordinary. But especially the first one, this first game, could easily be one of the most unusual games in my collection. It's pretty particular. Take a bit of explaining. It is called Cagero Deception 2. In the Deception series, there's a Devil's Deception, which was the precursor, which was released in the UK as well. And then there's Trapped on the PS2. And there's been Deception, I think it's Deception 4 on the Vita and the PS3. I'm not sure how the original Devil's Deception works as a game, but this one, and I think the ones after it, like Trapped and the games on the Vita and the PS3, how to describe them? I suppose it's sort of slight RPG elements, sort of an odd sort of tactical, sort of almost. Don't sort of let this. When I say tower defense, don't let you think that it's tower defense. It's not, but there's sort of elements of it, and not survival horror. I wouldn't say survival horror. With, I suppose, all combined with a sort of a theme of mousetrap. Weird, eh? Yeah. No, you basically are this character here. She's a human, but it's set in this almost like a medieval sort of fantasy universe. Is it set in the real world? It's a version I can't remember, but where humans are sort of, I suppose, they're at war with these immortal beings called the Time Noids. They look like humans, but they've got blue skin. And the Time Noids manipulate humans sort of to do their will because they're immortal. They live forever, and they're all powerful. So they manipulate humans to do their will, even though sort of they're at war. And this character here, what's her name? Can't remember her name. She's obviously the main character, and she's sort of manipulated by this Time Noid. She's a Time Noid queen. Can't remember. To do her bidding, and essentially what she does, her job, and this is essentially the game, is to set traps around this castle to defend it from human invaders, and that's pretty much what it is. And it's almost like like a set out. Each room's like a set out on a tactical grid almost, but you can you're sort of free to move wherever you like. And I say sort of tower defense because obviously you have to sort of defend the castle from these human invaders, but who are they're especially sort of all in real time. Is it real time? Because the human invaders just sort of keep on coming. So in that sense, it's like sort of tower defense. But so you set out sort of like your strategy through where you place the traps, and there are already sort of traps within the castle which you can utilise, but then you can place your own traps as well. And the idea is that you have to sort of kill the human invaders through use of the traps, and you can put them in such a way that you create like a chain, so that you can set off one trap that will trigger another trap, which should trigger another trap once, and then essentially it'll create a chain, a really gruesome chain of these human invaders sort of being thrown from one trap to the other in a sort of a mousetrap, sort of a mousetrap sort of style, like chain of events, chain of like, one thing triggers another thing, triggers another thing. Yeah, does that make sense? I don't know. I mean, I've played a fair amount of this, but I'm not sure. It's a sort of game that if I played it again, I'd have to sort of learn it again because I sort of blundered through it. I thought the first time I put it on, what the bloody hell's happening? And I think it's relatively sophisticated. It doesn't look very good. It looks a bit like sort of. I suppose it looks a bit like Tomb Raider and feels a bit sluggish like Tomb Raider. You know, so it's that sort of perspective, but it's actually quite sophisticated because the Human Invaders, the first one's just really stupid and it's really basic. Even though obviously when I first played it, I was a bit confused and I failed. I failed straight away, but then you get used to the game and then so you can dispatch that particular person quickly. But then the subsequent invaders, their AI becomes quite sophisticated, and you have to really think about how you're going to dispatch them because there are some a lot stronger and quicker and things like that. Like one of them's a ninja, so you have to work out how you're going to trap this ninja in your traps. So it's actually, I mean, it's a little bit different. Something a little bit different. This will appeal to people. Like I said, there's nothing really to compare it to. So if you like different sorts of PS1 games, sort of give it a crack. It's relatively pricey. There's actually a copy at the moment on the Cash Converters website. It's £20, but that's about the money, I think. £20 at the moment, maybe. Look on eBay, you might be able to get it cheaper, but it doesn't pop up that often for an auction. I don't know. But it's Cagero Deception 2. The PS2 game, I don't know. I mean, this reviewed pretty well. I don't think the PS2 game reviewed as well. But no, it's worth a crack. It's Cagero Deception 2. This one of my better charity shop purchases of recent years. It's the King of Fighters 95. I think this is an arcade port because it's sort of set out like that. It's sort of it feels. The sort of presentation is like an arcade port because there's I first put it on and I was wanting to learn some moves and there's a demo of how to play the game, but it's just a really basic demo of what each button does. But it's like a rolling demo. It's not actually a sort of a interactive demo. And then you can sit and watch. You can sit and watch sort of basically. I think it's like the arcade rolling demo that you would have been on the arcade machine. Because it's got the sort of the 1 and 2 press 1 and 2 player buttons sort of flashing up, and you press the button, and then it just goes back to the main menu. And what the bloody hell was going on? And it took me about 5 minutes to work out. It was just a rolling demo, but it's actually pretty good. But again, it's Kingdom not Fighters 95. But I don't really know the moves. I mean, when I first put it on, I played as. I can't remember who I played as. Oh, God, I think I played as this character actually, but I just tried sort of the basic sort of without knowing any moves, try the basic sort of Street Fighter 2 sort of fireball, quarter turn and punch, and it worked. So I think essentially the combos are all sort of Street Fighter combos, but again. I don't really know them, so I was sort of trying to work them out through sort of trial and error. But like I said, because there's no actual, I don't think there's an actual list. There's quite a few sort of game modes. There's like sort of one player and there's one player versus, and then there's sort of one player versus 3 and stuff like that. Which but apart from that, it's not so much a story mode. It's basically just one player or single player as the game calls it. But it's good. I mean, it's sort of bold and nicely animated. I really like I was sort of playing as Joe Higashi, the Muay Thai fighter, and I just really like his strong kick. It's just really nicely animated. The animations on this are really good, isn't it? But it's King of Fighters. I did find myself sort of being able to beat opponents just using strong kicks while I was trying to work out some of the special moves. That's not always a good sign. Just using one strong kick. If you can do that through the first few opponents, you need to be tested a bit more on that, don't you? Or maybe I had it on easy, or maybe the default setting's easy. I don't know. But King of Fighters 95, yeah.
King Fighters. I don't know, they don't really. I mean, I might get slaughtered for this, but they don't really vary that much. So. It's been a bit an interesting one. It's Kingsfield by From Software, also who made Dark Souls and Demon Souls and Otogi and Otogi 2. What else do they make? They made other things. Echo Knights, Echo Knight Beyond. So I think that they're sort of well versed in first person, obviously apart from Otogi, but well versed in first person RPGs. And this is what it is. Sorry, excuse me. Basic first person RPG. Sorry, not basic, early first person RPG. There's a game on. It's Kingsfield 4 on the PAL PS2. I don't know whether other versions, but it shows its age. I think obviously when it comes to consoles showing its age, I think obviously things like first person games are where the PS1 starts to show its age. And Kingsfield, it's a bit pixelated, and it's like I said, it's a first person RPG, and the sword swipes are a bit sort of like a bit leaden, slow, but it's probably one for sort of completists. I mean, it's obviously it's a game worth playing, but at the same time, like was it early 510? Not that early. 96, I suppose that is pretty early, isn't it? But yeah. I mean, subsequent versions and things like sort of Dark Souls and Demon Souls, I suppose it's sort of like a precursor to those, but first-person RPG. Yeah, not bad, but again, purely because of the sort of type of game it is, it's sort of Shanks Age. This one was a Christmas present to myself last year. The excellent Kanaloa, daughter Phantomile. Don't know. Yeah, really, really good. Sort of 2D stroke 3D platformer. 2D, or like a 3D platformer on 2D plane, I suppose. Relatively expensive, but I think justifies the cost. When you do think about how when you talk about expensive video games, they're rarely as expensive as they would have been when they were first released. That never really comes into consideration. But you think, oh, yeah, if this was first released, I could have paid sort of like 40 quid for it. But no, it's really good. It's really sort of really responsive, really attractive sort of main character and cast of characters and enemies. Really colourful. I like being able to see the rest of the game world in the background. I like that. It sort of creates sort of really sort of nicely realised game world. You can see where you can head to. But, yeah, it's. I think this is. Version of this is remade for the Wii, or it's just reported. I don't know. Probably just sort of tied up a bit, but that's pretty good as well. This is better than the PS2 game, but the PS2 game's still really good. Anyway, they're all really good. Apparently, there's a GBA game I've never played, but people say that's really good as well. You can't really go wrong with Klonoa. I think there's a Klonoa beach ball. I couldn't say how good that is, but as far as this one, which I have played, it's good. It's very good. Yeah. This one, another one of slightly odd games. It's called Credelka. It's a precursor to the Shadow Hearts games on the PS2. It's an RPG, and on 4 discs, so it's a pretty big game. What sets this apart? I think the combat is interesting because it's set out like tactical combat, but you only ever have sort of it's like sort of turn-based tactical combat, but you only ever have sort of a small battle party. So the tactical element isn't sort of that major. It's just a sort of a way of rejigging the sort of the standard sort of turn-based sort of 2 banks of 3, or like just going at each other. It's just a slight variation on that, and I think it works actually. It's I think it's well known as being sort of slightly adult RPG, and it's sort of quite horror based
sort of quite adult, as in dark, a bit dark, a bit dark and a bit sort of bit kinky. Well, no, the Shadow Hearts games they're definitely that, but a bit sort of almost feels like horror based. And the actual sort of in-game sections they're like fixed camera angles with pre-rendered backgrounds, and they feel a lot like sort of the Resident Evil games in that sense, because you're sort of walking through these environments, and although the actual the encounters are random, you get transported to the battle screen, and then it plays out as in this sort of grid based sort of tactical combat. But, it's attractive, and it's a really nice, again, really nicely realised game world. A nice cast of characters. I think it's sort of set in the real world. I think that's always interesting when it comes to RPGs, sort of set in the real world, with sort of the characters all look like one of them looks a bit like sort of a Victorian Indiana Jones, and you can fight with your fists, and you get like certain weapons, and you can train with certain weapons, and you can sort of build up your abilities with those certain weapons. Like you can train with just bare fists, and you can get really good at using your bare fists, or you can train with sort of knives, axes, sort of swords and things, and then you build up your skills with those particular weapons, which is a sort of nice twist. But then again, you sort of do find that you tend to neglect sort of certain weapons. You find you have no skill with them, and then you realise that you've got a lot of major weaknesses in that sense. I don't actually hate games like that, but because I always sort of neglect sort of certain things, and I forget about them, and I think, oh shit, when it's too late. But it's Credelka on 4 discs. Really nice storylines. Recommend this one. It's an RPG, but it shouldn't cost you too much. Yeah, and like I said, it's a sort of precursor to the Shadow Hearts. I think it's sort of spiritual precursor. I don't think I can't remember. They're actually properly linked, but they're connected. Put it that way. Finally, it's Karushi Final Mental Blocks. There's a Karushi. I don't know how they differ. I don't know how Karushi and Karushi Final differ. I think in America this is called Intelligent Cube or IQ, because that's a clue to another part of the game. Essentially, it's I suppose it's part of the part of the sort of the games that would have been inspired by Tetris, because it's set out more like clacks, as in there's what was that game I had real trouble? It was Devil Dice. This is going to be another one. Essentially, it's sort of an isometric view of this. So it's like a almost like a runway table, but with this row of cubes running across the far end. And the idea is these cubes start rolling down towards sort of the front end of this runway table type thing. And you're a little dude. It's slightly nightmarish in that sense. you're this little dude who runs around in front of them, and you have to activate the squares on the runway section, and then trigger them as the blocks roll down on top of the squares you've activated, and that removes one of these cubes, and then you can create chains like that in that sense, because you can sort of trigger them. You can sort of trigger the blocks sort of behind the one you've just removed and stuff like that. It's an interesting thing about this is that it gives you a rating. It measures your IQ, or it says it does. It gives you an IQ rating. That's obviously that ties in with the American title, which is Intelligent Cube. But it tells you what your IQ is. It's not an accurate measurement of what your IQ is, obviously, because your IQ is going to get better the more you play the game. But it's not one for people who are worried that they're not that clever. because this game will tell you. Okay, it's like your IQ is 20, and you go, oh shit. But yeah, I got this in CX. Weirdly, it cost me £2 a few years ago. So yeah, great. Like I said, I don't know how it differs to the original Karushi. Otherwise, I'm not sure I would need to have both. I have to look it up. I mean, I actually played the original Karushi on one of the PS1 demo discs, and my IQ was about 15 or something. I can't remember. It's a bit embarrassing. It's bloody hell. But no, it's one of the sorts of games that would have been inspired by Tetris because it's got the sort of the moving blocks, and you have to, If Tetris was never around, this game probably wouldn't have been around. It's not much like Tetris at all, but inspired by it. There you go. That's pretty much what it is. But yeah, does that any make sense? Sort of 3D row of sort of tumbling cubes coming toward you, and you have to get rid of them, and then you have to basically not get squashed. So it's Karushi Final, yeah. Well, that's it. That's the 6. What we got? Karushi Final, Credelka, Klonoa, Kingsfield, King of Fighters 95, and Cagero Deception 2. Bollocks! I clicked. Stop recording by accident, one knob, but there you go. I have to edit it all together now. Shit. But yeah, that was those 6. The L's are coming up soon. I think after the L's, sort of the second part, sort of onwards, it's really starts to kick in, this collection, especially the S's. There's a shitload of S's and some good and interesting stuff. But so yeah, so you have to stick around for them. You have to endure it. But I hope you're not enduring it. I hope you're enjoying it. But anyway, I'm gonna let you go and stop whittering. And thanks for watching. And yeah, look out for the L's, which will be along soon. So thanks for watching. See you later.